Hello. I simply want to talk about my version of what I think a set of values or morals that an atheist would follow. An atheist like myself, because everyone's different. Not everyone believes the same thing. And because there is no universal morality, there's no particular set of values that the entire universe really follows. Each person is an individual, and we all have our own specific set of beliefs. Now, these are 10 specific beliefs that I, as an atheist, have today. I wrote these a few years back, but I haven't really done much with them. But now I want to push them out into the world. I want to put my ideas out there to help anyone who might have a misconception of what an atheist believes, or who might have a false idea about what someone who doesn't carry any particular religious faiths or ideas. So these are my 10 Atheist Commandments, written by me, and I know that this is a thing other people have written their own atheist commandments. I wrote these without any influence from any other 10 commandments that an atheist has written or would have written. So let's get started. Number 1, the golden rule. Do not do to others as you would not do unto your own self. Never steal from or harm the financial, physical, or emotional well-being of your fellow man. This is a very simple thing to do. It's not hard. Do not set out to harm another person. Simply do not go out to hurt someone that you might just not like. Maybe you disagree with something they say. Maybe they pissed you off when they said something, or, anything. It's a very easy thing to do. It's the easiest thing in the world is to not hurt someone else. 2, denounce theism. Admit that no evidence exists for any known theistic story. Always demand evidence when you learn of them, and never accept them when no valid observable proof can be found. This is a bit of a challenge for some people. To believe in a religion relies on faith. You have to wish or hope that it's true. This is about removing yourself from the ideas of all man-made religions, that there are gods in the sky or in other realms of existence apart from our own that are watching us, observing us, judging us. You can't prove that those exist. In this plane of existence, you cannot validate these things to be actual findings. These are all just fantasies. This is about determining what's fact and what's fantasy. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, everything. This is about all religions that contain mythos about a god or gods, creators, intelligent designers of the universe and of Earth. If you can't prove those exist, then don't believe them. And that's simply what that's about. Number 3, search for truth. Pursue the scientific proofs of the universe with observable evidence. Learn how and why the things which without we would not exist operate. This is about learning about astronomy, learning about the stars, how stars form, learning about gravity, learning about physics. Our Earth holds together because of physics, because of the force of gravity. We're alive because our planet just so happens to be within the habitable zone of our parent star, which we call Sol. We call this the solar system, which consists of many planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, and also Sedna, which is a planet even further out than Pluto. And these other planets have moons, which are formed in the shape of spheres, much like Earth has our moon we call Luna, which is in the shape of a sphere. We're only alive here as we are today because of natural selection, because of the course that evolution of life chose to take. We are who we are today because of physics, because of gravity, because these molecules of chemicals, these atoms, all came together to form what we are. And I personally find that to be one of the most fascinating things about life. I find it to be even more fascinating than to simply say that God did it. Who's God? I don't know, but God did it, and he's smart, and the eye is a very complex tool. So if I can't explain how an eye forms or evolved, then it must be God. So that is what the search for truth is. Learning how and why the things which without we would not exist operate. Admission of imperfection. Understand that you as a human will make mistakes. Learn from them and try your best. Never see yourself as less than those you love, respect, and appreciate. This might be difficult for some people if we're self-denigrating, if we have a low self-esteem, if we have a bad opinion of ourselves. But also, it's difficult for other people who have malintent, who feed off of the vulnerabilities of other people, who enjoy harming other people. If you can be aware of what you do, who you are, the things you say, the things you have done, and how they affect other people, you can ask for forgiveness. Simply just apologize for doing something that has hurt someone else. It might be difficult. I have found it to be difficult. But I know that I'm not a bad person because I don't actively set out to harm other people. If the people we love accept our forgiveness, accept our apologies, the people we've wronged or hurt to some extent, even if they don't, the fact that you actually genuinely feel sorry and show that guilt and display shame and admit when you've done wrong, if you actually want to make it better, then you abide by this law or by this commandment, to take responsibility for your actions and know that what you're doing and how it affects other people around you. Number 5, admit culpability. Understand when you have done wrong. Display your guilt and admit your mistakes. Rest not on the forgiveness of imaginary characters. Apologize to those whom you've wronged and do right by them. Now, number 4 and number 5 here go hand in hand. It's not too hard to explain. This is more about focusing on asking forgiveness from real, legitimate people. Displaying your grievance to a person in the material world. Someone who can react to you. And not about asking forgiveness from a deity or an entity that is outside of our perception of understanding something that we cannot validly observe or gain information from. Basically, ask forgiveness from people, not forgiveness from an imaginary god or gods. Therefore, your forgiveness will be more validated by the fact that it's an actual, legitimate person hearing what you have to say, understanding your grievance, and accepting your apology, and not just wishful thinking, the hopes that some magical, fantastical, imaginary creature that exists in another plane of life, or in the heavens, or in wherever, asking people for forgiveness, seeking that forgiveness from others, not just believing that you're forgiven by someone who might not exist in the minds of others. Admit culpability, understand when you have done wrong, take responsibility for your actions, and utilize that responsibility in asking another human being for their affection and forgiveness, and not God. Now, number 6, reject moral atrocities. Never commit acts of violence towards whom have never harmed you or anyone else while establishing yourself as the better person for it. Do not harm the financial, physical, or emotional well-being of the innocent while claiming to be more virtuous, ethical, or righteous. Now, the language I have written here, it might leave you open to a contradiction in the behavior and how you adopt this particular commandment. Number 6 and number 1. Never commit acts of violence towards whom have never harmed you or anyone else. I have purposefully written this particular commandment as a way to leave you wiggle room and a justification for the attack on bullies and other people who feed off of others' vulnerabilities, who like making people weak, who like hurting people, who like harming people for their own selfish gain, for their avarice. Do not harm the financial, physical, or emotional well-being of the innocent. The innocent, meaning that a person who is actively setting out to harm someone else is not innocent. So you should hold no sympathy for someone who is harming the innocent on purpose. Someone who will not admit culpability. Someone who will not admit to their imperfection. Who believes that they are a better person. But the actions they take lead to the harm and denigration of others. So as I said, do not harm the financial, physical, or emotional well-being of the innocent while claiming to be more virtuous, ethical, or righteous. So if you're hurting people, but you believe you're such a great person, the first law does not apply to you. The golden rule does not apply. So I have left wiggle room and reject moral atrocities for someone to step in when a bully is doing what a bully does and hurting people, for you to harm that bully as you see fit. That is what I believe, and that is how I have written it. 7. Question authority. Never accept law without the understanding of the need for that law. Understand and demand that laws are made to protect, not to dictate, and object to a law when it is used to impose the micromanagement of people's personal liberties and freedoms of being. This is a rule that goes after the character of people in positions of authority who use their positions of authority to abuse the lower class. This attacks written rules and legislation that says if you smoke a rolled up piece of paper that has some marijuana in it, then you deserve to be thrown in jail. Why? Because you smoked that marijuana. But did you harm anyone? No. You harmed yourself. But we say that marijuana is illegal, even though it doesn't hurt you. Or maybe it hurts you, but it doesn't hurt someone who is not taking it, but you're taking it. You decide to alter your consciousness in a way to relax, to feel better, or to feel good. You ingested mushrooms so that you can see the world in a different way for a short amount of time. If a law is written down to say that that is illegal, you should question that law, because it's not harmful to anyone else for an individual to ingest something. It is only possibly harmful to that individual alone, and they should not be harmed. They should not be thrown in jail for these acts of rebellion against written authority. Humanitarianism. Always protect and look out for the financial, emotional, and physical well-being of your fellow human, and help those who are not capable of helping themselves. Oppose indifference towards others, respect the decency of other humans, and abide their privacy if asked to. This one doesn't need a lot of explaining. It's very similar to number 1, the golden rule. If you have friends and you think that a behavior they have is unhealthy, share that concern and tell them that you're worried. Or if you witness, again, actions of others that are harming other people, try to remove the people that you care about from those situations. And don't allow the negative characters out there to harm the ones you love and care about. 9. Remain equal. Treat those who are different from you as kindly as you'd wish for them to treat you. Never devalue another human being on the basis of their physical appearance, sexual orientation, origin of birth, cultural traditions, or manner of personality. This is about respecting people even if they do hold religious beliefs. As long as they are not hurting other people with their beliefs, they can have that belief. They have a right to be wrong. They have a right to believe something that you don't. They have a right to feel and think a certain way that you don't feel and think. They have that right. And you have a right to not believe something that they say or believe something that they believe. You have that right, and they have the right to believe it. Also, they have a right to be who they are. They have a right to be gay, transgender, bisexual, straight, black, white. They have a right to be male. They have a right to be female. They have a right to be non-binary. And no amount of hate or disagreement from you or anyone else can change the fact that they have a right to these beliefs. And they have a right to feel and think a certain way as long as it does not negatively affect you or anyone else on a financial, physical, or emotional level. If it just hurts your head because a transgender is a transgender, then you have no right to impede on their beliefs or their state of being. Just because they're gay, transgender, whatever it is, you don't have a right to impose your beliefs over them. And 10. Appreciate life. Never devalue or perceive this life as expendable. We all live and do not know for certain if other planes of existence lay beyond death. So love life and live it to the fullest. Do not scare or restrain yourself with the concept of sin, and always pursue your own happiness. This is about living every second as best as you can. It's not about fearing death, not just about waiting for death to come, but knowing that it's going to come for each and every one of us, coming to terms with that and living your life in a way that makes you happy and doesn't make you feel guilty for what you're doing or for how you're living. Do not scare or restrain yourself with the concept of sin. In the Bible, it's sinful to have thoughts. It's sinful to have feelings. It's sinful to simply exist. And every day you breathe, you have to ask forgiveness for the tiniest bit of transgression. And those transgressions are thought crimes, emotional crimes, things you feel, thoughts, impure thoughts, quote unquote. This is about doing away with the concept of these impure thoughts. Just because you think something doesn't make you a bad person. Our actions are what matter. So, pursue your own happiness and live life to the fullest. If that means that you're straight, for instance, but want to have a gay experience, that's fine. You don't need to worry that you committed some transgression against God because he happens to hate homosexuals and you just so happen to have some attraction towards your own sex, as an example. And those are the 10 Atheist Commandments.